A lot of golfers struggle with knowing when the pressure should begin shifting. The club moves over the top, the body starts spinning out, and sequence falls apart before force can transfer. In this video, we'll recenter your timing, sequencing, and pressure shift with one conditioning drill, one row flow drill, and 2 swing drills. The goal is simple: understand when the pressure should shift so the swing can load, sequence, and release correctly. My name is Coach Sean with RC Golf Performance, and I coach golfers to move better as humans so they can move better as athletes. So what we'll see with a lot of amateur golfers are 2 different types of swinging patterns. Either they will try to just start turning their swing back and through because they think golf is such a rotary sport that we're just trying to rotate around the body. Or for those who understand that we're trying to get the pressure right and pressure left, what we'll see is that oftentimes they get to the right and they get stuck on the right too long. So now by the time they try to swing down, they don't get to the left side early enough. And then they start having more heavy and thin shots or even pulled and over the top type swinging patterns. Now, just so I can break this down for you first to understand something, the golf swing, from the moment you basically take the club back and make contact with the ball, it's literally less than 1 second. It's about 9/10 of a second. Now, just to break that down even further, by the time we're at the top and the club starts changing directions, so top of swing to golf ball, it's about 2 to 3/10 of a second, which is about the same speed, if not quicker, than a blink of an eye. So if we don't already have that pressure shifting to that left side early enough, we will never have enough time in the downswing to recover and get the pressure left enough at impact. So today I'm going to go ahead and talk about how we can be a little bit more dynamic, making sure our pressure does get into the right side. However, we need to do that very early so then we can unweight that right side early enough to get into the left side enough to have great contact for us to make sure that we don't have those heavy or thin shots. So I'm going to break that down with 2 different type of drills. But before I do, I'm going to show you a swing here where, again, I do encourage the pressure starts a little left so we can get right very, very early. And one of the golfers that you'll see on tour that does this exceptionally well, and it's very clear, is Rory McIlroy. When he sets up, you'll see a little bit of a shimmy shift where he gets into that right side before the club starts even moving. Now, as we get into that right side, what I don't want to see, and again, this is what a lot of amateur golfers do if they travel to the right, being a right-handed golfer, is they get all the way to the top and they get stuck on the right. And once again, if they're all the way at the top with 80 to 100% on the right, there is not enough time in the downswing that we just kind of discovered to get enough into the left for great contact. However, I do encourage the pressure getting right very, very early. Now, as the club, there's mass behind the club head. As it's the furthest point away from us, anywhere between club parallel to the ground to left arm parallel to the ground, that is when our pressure should be maxed out on the right side. Now, that may be different for certain individuals at about 80 to 90, even up to 100% on that right side of pressure in that takeaway. So after we get maxed out, this is where, as the club is going overhead, as we're still turning, so again, this is a backswing movement, the pressure needs to start recentering. And when I say recentering, we're just trying to unweight that right side to where we're not 100 or 80% on the right leg for a right-handed golfer at the top of the backswing. So notice how as I take it back, my pressure is moving a little bit right, and now as it's going overhead, as we start turning, again, there's mass behind the club head, the pressure should start getting as close to 50-50 as possible at the top of the backswing. Now again, just because I say unweighting the right side, that doesn't mean I'm trying to go too far left, because even as the club changes direction, where the downswing's actually in that transition sequence, we need to still move even more to the left, which is also why I like a dynamic, fluid motion, okay? And now we're gonna step into a conditioning drill so we can feel the timing of that movement. So now if I grab a kettlebell here, and you can always use a dumbbell as well, just something with a little bit of weight. Now this is 10 pounds. I certainly don't encourage really anything much lighter, or we don't wanna go too much heavier than this either. If it's too light, we may not feel where the force is being applied even under our feet. So as I swing this here, what I don't want to see is, number one, we're just turning here, and I want to make sure that we're getting a little bit of separation. So notice how my pressure, I'm keeping this short. I don't want to go super long because I don't want that bell flipping over and hitting the back of the wrist. So keep it kind of short. And notice how, as I take it back, I'm starting with the pressure under my feet. So it's allowing my feet to move and sending energy up the leg. And then my hips are essentially pulling this bell through. So back and through, back and through. And notice how, as the bell is kind of about to stop and change directions, my pressure as I'm turning is already starting to flow to the other side. So as we do this a few times, what we're noticing is that the pressure starting ground up, it's getting the pelvis to shift. Now here's the catch. What I almost want you to feel first, just so you can kind of understand this a little bit, is we have to pressure shift, hit the brakes, pressure shift, hit the brakes on both sides. So this can technically be a backswing drill or a follow-through drill. But I'm really trying to get you a little bit more dynamic and more into a flowing motion. So if I were to have this bell, if it were to pull me to the side in either direction, then I'm clearly not using the ground to hit the brakes. Now again, we don't have to focus too much on the ground, but I want you to almost feel what that's like if the bell was pulling me, because now that's as if we were to take our backswing and we get all the pressure to the right, the bell is actually pulling me to the right, or vice versa, pulling me to the left. So by us preventing that weight to pull us, we're actually applying force in the ground to create rotation. So that is our braking mechanism. That is what creates rotation that we've discussed in previous videos. So notice how, as I try to swing that bell, say to my right, I'm trying to prevent it pulling me outside, and that is where I'm using the ground. So watch how even if I have a little bit of speed going back and through, and once again, my lower body is always leading the motion. Now for a right-handed golfer, as we go into our downswing, I just want to make sure that the upper body is not starting to crash forward. We're driving through the lower body. And again, using the ground. Whether you feel the ground or not, you're still applying force in the ground if you're getting the timing and sequencing correctly. Now what I would do first, and this is the progression I take with some of my students, is I get them to feel this with a little bit of weight. Because the weight really helps us feel the activation, where we're engaging in the ground so it's not pulling us. And then I go with something a little lighter. So once we get away from the bell, then I encourage doing it with the rope flow. So from here, this rope may be a little long, so I'm just going to fold it a little bit so it's about the length of a golf club. And now from here, I can kind of do the same thing with the rope, just going back and through, back and through. But if we want this more into a full motion, this is where I'm going to encourage it wrapping around the shoulder on both ends. Now the beautiful thing about this rope drill is it can actually change about 4 to 5 different characteristics that we may do in our swing. For example, if I went too slow in my backswing, I'll never get this rope over my shoulder if I took too slow of a backswing. So I actually do encourage a little bit more speed in the takeaway, but we may need to slow down as that rope needs to rest on the back so we can actually shift. The other thing is if we start spinning out our hips, that rope is going to smack our back, and clearly we're trying to avoid any sort of pain. If I even started to pull my handle down and start pulling the hands down too hard, being aggressive where the arms are out of sequence and the arms are pulling versus leading with the lower body, the rope is also going to smack our back. So as we do this motion, I always say when we start off, start it in your finish position around your shoulder. And what I want to see is bring the club back starting with your lower body, bring this rope back, wrap it around the shoulder, and go back and through. And it may take you a few times to start feeling how the rope is going to rest and delay on the back as we shift. Now what I want to make sure is that we're not just firing like I am right here, just firing as soon as the rope touches our back. We want a slight little hesitation. So watch this a few times. So notice how the rope has a little delay on my shoulder. I don't mind if the arms want to bend a little bit at the top. It doesn't have to be fully extended just for this drill. But notice how as I'm doing this, my pressure is shifting and I'm going through. The other thing is, if you notice, I'm going to add speed on both ends. But once again, the slowest part of the swing is as the club sets at the top, so it gives us time to transition. Now this transition sequence, once again, this is still considered a backswing movement. This is not a downswing move. So I don't want you at the top on the right side and then start to shift or bring the club down as that's happening. So as I do this here, so bring it back, let it shift and rest, and go right on through. Now I'm going to add a little bit of speed on both ends. So I'm going to go fast, but notice how it's delaying at the top, fast in the backswing, fast on through. Fast back, delay, and right on through. So it may take you a little bit of time to start feeling that fluid movement to make sure that rope is resting and to make sure that pressure is starting to recenter and get to the left side, or simply unweighting that right side as the club is still moving back. So now let's jump into our swing drills. So now that we've just done our kettlebell drill and our rope drill, now I want to try to incorporate the exact same thing with a club in our hands. And in fact, just like our rope, how we were kind of going back, going through, that is actually how I'm going to recommend you hit some golf balls to start off. And what I want to see here is notice how I'm going through, back, and through, back, and through. So before even hitting, I just want to make sure you can feel this motion. However, when we actually do start hitting golf balls, I love that dynamic movement where I'm going to say go ahead and address the golf ball, and make sure you address with the club on the ground first to make sure your proximity to the golf ball is good. Then go ahead and hover the club so that way we're not hitting it on the way back. So as I hover this, I'm going to start over my left shoulder, bring it back, bring it through, bring it back, and bring it through. And then when I'm ready, I can actually go ahead and just tap one going through. So notice how I actually made some contact on that. Now, one thing I really want you to be mindful of, because this is something I don't want to see, is where when you do decide to hit the golf ball, I want to make sure you don't get too tense, and I want to make sure that the rhythm and sequencing doesn't change. So what I mean by that is I don't want to see nice, good flowing motion, and then all of a sudden you get there and you try to wind up and try to rip it through as hard as you can, because that may pull you out of position, and then we start losing that timing and sequencing. So once again, if I swing it forward, bring it back, bring it through, and when I hit the ball, you're going to notice that I'm not going to have any sort of different speed change or any of that, okay? So to maintain and retain that sequencing. Now, even as I'm doing this, it's not necessarily about the contact. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be poor contact, but I don't mind the contact at this point. I want to make sure we're starting to feel the timing, rhythm, and sequencing in that good dynamic flowing motion. So I'll do that one more time. So swing it forward, bring it back, bring it through, bring it back, and go right on through. Now, what I certainly don't mind either is continuing the swing right after that, even after you've hit the ball, to make sure that your speed did not change as soon as we make contact with the ball. So watch this one more time where I'm not going to stop even after I hit it. So back, through, back, through, back, and through. And notice how right there, speed didn't change, rhythm didn't change, it was the exact same motion. Then when we're ready to actually do that over the golf ball, I'm going to say get in your regular address position, hover the club again, start it just a little bit about knee height where the pressure's on the left. Now let's start with that lower body pressure, getting to the right side, making sure that the pressure is getting right furthest point away, and as it's going overhead, we're starting to unweight that right side to allow us to get left a little bit earlier. So we'll start the club up, start at the left knee, bring it back, and bring it through. Now you can do this on full length swings or even little 3/4 or half swings as well. You can certainly even do this from waist high to waist high, because I want to make sure we're getting that nice dynamic rhythm. Now another drill that I really like doing, now sometimes I actually do this more as sequencing and even a speed drill, is actually for a right-handed golfer, grip it with your left hand and left hand only and make some swings. And I almost want you to do this without the ball first, to where I'm gonna see how fast you can swing with the right hand versus the left hand. And I wanna make sure the left hand is just as fast as the right arm or even faster. Because what that's gonna do is now that we took a hand off the club, I wanna make sure it's taking the tension and the strength out of your hands, trying to pull it and yank it down. And this will really help us start to feel the timing and the sequencing of how to create all that speed and how I gotta get to that left and use the ground. And we can certainly do that hitting golf balls as well. Now, even when I start hitting golf balls, it's not about the contact, okay? Now, you can hit some really great one-handed swings, but I wanna make sure that's not the concentration. It's trying to feel the timing. Now, if you're that player who has a tendency to spin out and the arms are staying behind, then the arms will be forced to flip because we're really not gonna be able to hit a ball from here. So now the arms have to flip. So that's another reason why I love this drill, because again, it's training the body of how we recenter and trying to get the arms in front of us so they don't get stuck behind. And it also prevents the arms yanking it down too much. So it can solve a few different problems there as well. So one hand only. Hand could be behind the back or just hanging here. And again, I do like starting it up front just to get a little bit of that dynamic rhythm. So start it up front, swing it back, and swing it through. And again, not about the contact. That one right there for me was pretty poor. And to be honest, I can do this actually pretty well. I have a pitching wedge in hand where I can hit it about 120 yards. But let's watch that one more time. So bring it back, bring it through. And I'm gonna do that 2 more times here. Bring it back, feel the recenter, and how we get to that left side for a right-handed golfer earlier, and how we can start using the ground a little bit more efficiently and a little bit more dynamic. So those are your swing drills there. Once again, it's not about the contact. It's about understanding that rhythm, that flowing, fluid motion, and how all of your joints in the body are working together, but the lower body is leading the motion to pull the arms right on through. If you want to actually feel how rotation, pressure shift, and sequencing are supposed to work, I put together a free RowFlow training for golfers. This is a preview of movement patterns we'll build inside the full program, so you can start training this immediately. Grab it through the link in the description. And if this helped you understand the swing in new ways, make sure to click the like and subscribe button. I break this down every week so you can train the movement, not just chasing swing thoughts. I'll see you in the next one.